Everybody has heard of the metaverse. It's one of the biggest announcements of our time. A fully realized world of virtual possibilities where almost everything we can do in real life is there and possible, even more. Bill Gates certainly seems to be advocating for it, though of course it's worth remembering that few people besides him have spent more time in the last 2 years instilling fear in people when it comes to COVID. It's almost as though the man who once described vaccines as the key to keeping human population under control doesn't want us to be free and able to go outside. What he's most recently said about the metaverse is truly frightening though. So join me as I go through this. So what has Bill Gates said about the metaverse? Why is it so frightening, and what does it mean for your freedom going forward? Well, strap yourselves in, as this one could get a little bumpy. So stay on until the very end to make sure you get all the info you can. And remember to subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications too, so that you can always be up to date with any news, rumors, and info that can help you in life. And remember, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, so bear in mind that any information you hear from anywhere, even the actual doctors, should be considered conjecture in most cases. Do your own research and make up your own mind. But with that said, let's explore what's going on with Mr. Bill Gates. So Bill Gates then. This is a very polarizing figure of a man, as on the one hand, he created Windows, an operating system that the vast majority of PC users in the world used. But on the other hand, Windows has constant virus issues, and Gates seems to have even made some profit off that, depending on who you believe. But then again, his non-profit organization, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, has done work around the world to fight poverty and disease. But then again, the organization was blamed by doctors in India for a devastating vaccine-strained polio epidemic that paralyzed hundreds of thousands of children. But on the other hand, the World Health Organization backed the foundation and debunked this. Then again, on the other hand, this is the same WHO that recommended lockdowns and mandatory masks and vaccines in 2020, with Gates constantly tweeting about his approval of these. Are you beginning to get why Bill Gates is such a polarizing figure? He seems to have managed to reach far beyond the world of technology that he started in and got involved in global health as well. It's no wonder when he starts talking about the metaverse, something that delights and excites some people and fills others with dread and images of the Matrix in real life, that people raise their eyebrows and call it frightening. In a recent post on his personal website, Bill Gates stated that the metaverse model may be coming sooner than we think, stating that within the next 2 or 3 years, I predict most virtual meetings will move from 2D camera image grids to the metaverse, a 3D space with digital avatars. Next though, still unable to ever stop talking about the pandemic, Gates said that it had revolutionized the workplace, with most companies now offering flexibility for employees who want to work remotely. He maintains that these changes will only grow and intensify over the next few years, and remote working will cause more people to enter the metaverse. He claims that the technology is getting very close to being able to replicate the experience of being together in the office. He believes that this will be a major improvement over the current models using Zoom or Microsoft Teams. The model will allow people to use a 3D avatar that could interact with other people in a fleshed-out virtual environment. But if you think that Zuckerberg is the only one peddling a metaverse, then you're incorrect, as MS Teams is also working on adding 3D avatars to the Teams software. Of course, now that Gates and Zuckerberg are teaming up, they both desperately seem to want everyone to use their metaverse every day of every single aspect of their entire lives, including work. This will of course require the public to be willing, they both have said, and maybe they will. Now clearly, the virtual worlds that will make up the metaverse are still very much in development by companies like Meta, and Gates admitted that for the metaverse to really work as he and Zuck intend, the technology is going to have to be in place to capture your facial expressions and your body language. This is going to require a much more advanced VR headset and motion capture gloves, like the Meta Glove, also currently in development. He said that there's still some work to do, but it won't be long before the metaverse is making remote work feel a little less remote. Zuckerberg is just as optimistic, though more liberal with the time frame, claiming that the key components of the metaverse will take 5 to 10 years to really become ubiquitous. Earlier this year, Meta revealed Horizon Workrooms, a virtual office that people can enter and collaborate together on their work. Meanwhile, Microsoft is now using holograms and extended reality applications, and let's not forget that they also own Minecraft, something that began as a basic kid-friendly building game but grew and grew into its own little universe. Now another big name in the metaverse tech that seemed to spring up out of nowhere during 2020 was Roblox, which itself functions as a kind of sandbox for people to roam around and create games and all sorts of other things. They've become so big that they partnered with major brands like Ralph Lauren, Gucci, and Vans to produce all kinds of cool experiences. Still, most people believe that Microsoft is leading the real charge to the metaverse, and for good reason. One of the reasons for this is Mesh. Microsoft's gateway to the metaverse, which only requires a phone and no need for headsets and gloves or anything else. Microsoft also has one heck of a head start too, with over 145 million users on Microsoft Teams to date, while the number of VR adopters is only around 17 million. This means that Mesh could go straight to having a huge user base depending on how Microsoft deals with integrating it. Meta isn't really leading the charge then, and of course there's still the issue of what the company infamous for selling Facebook users private info is going to do when they have access to people's biometric readings as well, thanks to the tech in the proposed gloves and headsets. Frances Haugen, a whistleblower, released internal documents highlighting Facebook's inconsistent treatment of data that prioritize the company's growth over user safety. While Zuckerberg has come out and said that the company is committed to data privacy, that might not be near enough for users. Meanwhile, Microsoft is well ahead, especially in gaming, where their Xbox can display a museum of the brand's highlights for gamers to virtually explore, kind of like an Xbox metaverse. There's even a personal Xbox museum where players can revisit their victories and achievements. But the question is, who is going to adopt the metaverse first? PCs were at first adopted by businesses who needed them for various office tasks long before they found their way into the average customer's home life. In contrast, it was the customers who drove the market with the iPhone, buying them in crazy numbers and forcing the businesses to make their software work on them. VR has of course been largely marketed to private users for gaming and fun at home, so it actually makes a lot of sense to follow that route, since there are millions installed. Microsoft, meanwhile, just being Microsoft, has focused on business use cases like construction or engineering, and that will of course end up in a higher price point. And yeah, you have to also remember that Microsoft is no beginner when it comes to VR and AR, having also produced the HoloLens, which has a wide variety of uses. While AR is the usual term, Microsoft refers to this as mixed reality, blurring the lines between the real and the virtual by having elements of the virtual appear in reality through the HoloLens. Microsoft isn't exactly a big player on the hardware side, but it shouldn't have too much trouble acquiring the companies and tech it needs to instantly compete with Meta on this side as well. They're also apparently going all in on the Neo economy, leading a $27 million funding round for Palm NFT Studio. NFTs are slowly taking over the crypto space in a big way, and this shows the willingness by Microsoft to promote this, or try to control it, by allowing Palm the funding it needs to hire more people to create more and more new NFT projects. So it looks like Microsoft and Meta are both plunging headfirst into the modern developments in technology, particularly the metaverse, with Gates especially believing that the modern workplace needs to drastically reform in order to become almost entirely virtual. But why have virtual offices and virtual meetings, virtual boardrooms and virtual projects in the first place? Why does Gates so badly want the average person to be working from home and just use the metaverse to be able to perform almost every task they normally would? Well, he claims it's because of the pandemic that has shaken the world to its core. But if you look at the world around you, everything seems to be getting mostly back to normal already. Why then insist that everybody needs to abandon their offices and physical interactions in order to isolate themselves and work from home using VR and AR? What is it that Gates thinks is wrong with sharing the planet with other human beings just as we always have? The metaverse stands poised to change the way we interact with technology and each other in many ways, and that kind of change can be used to provide amazing experiences to people all over the world if they want them. By heavily encouraging the world's businesses and customers to isolate and use their metaverse, has Gates really considered the kind of social damage that it could do to the entire human race? Well, I suppose we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to this channel and please ring that bell for notifications so that you never miss any updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.